Bella. I eased my car into the driveway and immediately spotted my husband's vehicle parked awkwardly, its windows clouded with condensation. A sense of dread washed over me as I approached, the unmistakable sounds of passion growing more distinct with each step. With shaking hands, I yanked the door open. There was Brad, my supposed mate and husband, entangled with Lydia, his former flame, right outside our home. After enduring years of his disrespect and the humiliation of his unfaithfulness, this display marked a new depth of degradation. Lydia had her head tilted back, breathing heavily with a smug expression plastered across her face. Brad remained expressionless, as if my presence registered nothing to him. When they finally separated and exited the vehicle, Lydia's eyes found mine. "Sorry, Bella," she sneered, mockery dripping from every word. "Car sex was on my bucket list, and Brad kindly obliged. He's fantastic, as usual, but you wouldn't know that since he's never been intimate with you, has he?" She flicked a used tissue at my feet with contempt. "You might want to clean that up. We left quite a mess inside." My face burned with shame as I stared at the discarded tissue. Brad's icy voice cut through the tense atmosphere. "And when you're done, come make us dinner. I'm famished." Dinner? After witnessing their betrayal? The sheer nerve of his demand made fury surge through me. How could he possibly treat me like a servant after such blatant disrespect? Lydia snickered, and I wondered what she found so amusing. "Yes, the worthless wife can handle the housework while we enjoy ourselves," she taunted. 5 years of marriage had crumbled into nothing but humiliation. I stared at the discarded tissues, restraining the urge to hurl them back at Brad and Lydia as they disappeared into our house. My fingers trembled with suppressed rage. Brad's affairs had become routine, different women, meaningless encounters to fulfill his desires. I'd grown numb to his betrayals over time. But Lydia stood apart from the others. She held his heart in a way I never could. The stark truth cut deeper than any physical wound. Solitude without a destined partner seemed infinitely better than this charade with someone who despised my very existence. "You would never be my fated mate and future Luna." His cruel declaration had shattered me 5 separate times during our marriage. I should have walked away after the first rejection, yet I clung to foolish hopes that his feelings might change. My expensive gown now felt ridiculous against my skin. The pack gala we were supposed to attend together became another empty promise. Brad had abandoned me without hesitation, choosing Lydia's company over his obligations. Standing alone amid happy couples had made me feel pathetic, invisible. I had desperately hoped this event might repair something between us. Instead, he had chosen her. Again, I kicked the crumpled tissue violently and slammed the door with such force the frame shuddered. This was the breaking point. I couldn't continue being their doormat, enduring the pack's pitying glances and whispered mockery. I was finished. I marched into the house directly to the kitchen. My culinary skills were exceptional, a fact Brad consistently overlooked despite my efforts. Deciding on lasagna, his preferred dish, I set to work. The kitchen soon filled with an enticing aroma as I finished preparing the meal, feeling a sense of accomplishment. When I carried my plate to the living room, I discovered Brad and Lydia nestled together on the couch, absorbed in some meaningless program. "Dinner's ready," I stated flatly. Lydia looked up at my announcement, displaying an insincere smile. "Oh, Bella, finally, we're absolutely famished." She made no attempt to move, instead pressing closer to Brad. Brad shot me an irritated look. "Well, don't just stand there. Bring it over, would you?" "Unfortunately, I only prepared enough for myself," I replied. Their faces transformed from puzzlement to fury within seconds. "What the hell do you mean? Not enough?" Brad snarled, his gray eyes constricting with anger. "Get back to that kitchen and make something for us now." Lydia added with contempt. "Cooking and cleaning are your only talents, aren't they? Make us food immediately." I refused with a firm shake of my head. "I'm not your servant. If you're hungry, feel free to prepare something yourselves." Brad's expression contorted with rage. In one violent motion, he struck the plate from my grasp. The dish crashed to the floor, breaking into pieces and scattering food everywhere. Brad loomed over me, his face contorted with rage. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he bellowed, his imposing frame casting a shadow across the floor. "Since when did you start defying me?" From the couch, Lydia let out a shrill laugh that pierced the tension-filled air. "Ooh, you should have dumped it on her head, darling," she taunted with vicious delight. Perhaps that would have knocked some sense into that thick skull of hers. I winced involuntarily at her cruel words, feeling the familiar burn of tears threatening to spill. But something had changed within me today. I refused to display weakness before them any longer. With newfound determination, I pushed myself up from the floor and stood tall, meeting Brad's enraged eyes without flinching. "For once in your life, actually listen to what I'm saying," I stated firmly, my voice surprisingly steady despite the chaos of emotions inside me. "I'm finished being your personal punching bag. This mockery we call a marriage is completely over." I paused deliberately, drawing a deep breath to center myself before delivering the final blow. "I, Bella Hale of the Shadow Wolves, officially accept your rejection as both my mate and alpha." "Bella." Brad's face froze in disbelief. His mouth hung open as my words registered. "What nonsense is this?" he scoffed dismissively. He clearly thought I was just making empty threats. I spoke with an edge I'd been suppressing for years. "You heard me perfectly. I'm finished here. And yes, I want a divorce." A hollow laugh escaped him, but rage flashed in his eyes. "You can't possibly mean that," he said with contempt. "Where exactly do you plan to go? You're tied to this pack and legally bound to me." I returned a frigid smile. "We're connected by nothing but paperwork. You never claimed me as your true mate, never left your mark, and even with stronger bonds, I'd still walk away. I deserve respect, not to be treated as your personal maid." The muscles in his jaw clenched visibly. Tension radiated from his neck. "You should be thanking me for marrying you at all. Many women would do anything to be the Luna." I exhaled heavily. "You've turned me away 5 separate times. Each rejection made it crystal clear that I'm unwanted. That's exactly why I'm ending this charade." His eyes burned into mine. "Ungrateful little nobody. You think you can just leave after everything I've provided?" "You provided nothing, Brad," I stated firmly. "Our marriage wasn't built on love or desire. You married me solely out of duty." The memory surfaced of our first meeting, how he had rescued me from those cruel bullies who targeted me simply for being an Omega. I stared at Brad, recalling that brief moment when he'd come to my rescue. His strength as he took down those who tormented me, the unusual softness in his eyes that made my heart skip. That single act of kindness became the only one I'd ever know from him. The pack elders had explained everything clearly. My Moonblood lineage, rare and powerful, made me valuable to the pack's future. According to ancient law, I was essential for their stability, so they selected me as his Luna. We were destined mates anyway. Back then, I already had feelings for Brad. The idea of becoming his partner thrilled me. I thought our bond would strengthen over time. Instead, it crumbled completely. He grew to hate me, daily reminding me I was nothing but an obligation, a chain around his neck. Brad accused me of manipulating the elders, forcing him into marriage. He called me power-hungry, interested only in the status of being an alpha's mate. Nothing could be further from reality. My love for him was genuine and deep, but his heart remained firmly with Lydia. She had been his lover before I entered the picture, and her sudden disappearance had broken him completely. She'd been taken by enemy wolves, and despite Brad's years of searching, he never located her. Now she was back, determined to reclaim her place without any regard for my existence. Brad clearly wanted her too. The realization pierced me deeply. During my heats, I suffered alone, never seeking another's touch because of my devotion to my mate. How naive I had been. "Divorce papers will be ready shortly," I stated, turning to exit. "You won't survive alone, Bella," Brad called after me. "Remember how your parents practically sold you? They couldn't care less about you." His words hit their mark. I couldn't make rash choices driven by hurt feelings. My family would rage if I returned home. I just needed to endure a few more days until the legal separation was complete. Then I'd leave the country entirely, far from him and everything familiar. Being a rogue seemed preferable to this situation. Lydia returned from the bathroom at that moment. What caught my eye was the jewelry around her neck, an ancient, invaluable family treasure passed through generations. The necklace gleamed with diamonds and pearls catching the light. My mother had once explained its significance as a symbol meant for the Luna. Brad never bestowed it upon me, apparently reserving it for Lydia all along. "I found this in your room," Lydia stated, her eyes fixed on Brad with a sultry gaze. "I hope you don't mind me wearing it." Brad's expression immediately softened, his face transforming with unmistakable devotion. "You look beautiful," he murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "Just like a princess." Her face lit up as her fingers touched the necklace delicately. "So I can keep it?" Excitement danced in her eyes. Brad nodded without hesitation. "Of course, you can have anything you want. Just name it, and it's yours." She flung her arms around his shoulders with delight, capturing his lips in a fervent kiss. I stood there, watching the scene unfold like some pathetic spectator. I pivoted to leave, the display of their intimacy too painful to witness. Brad's commanding voice halted me mid-step. "Bella, wait," he called out sharply. "I just remembered Lydia's luggage is still in the car trunk. Go fetch them for her." I turned back, confusion etched across my face. "Why are her bags in the trunk?" Lydia's expression was triumphant as she casually twirled a lock of her burgundy hair. "I'm moving in with you two? Isn't that wonderful?" I manufactured a smile while my heart crumbled inside. "Yeah, that's great." I managed in a barely audible whisper. I woke up at dawn as I did every morning to prepare Brad's breakfast. When I turned to wake him, I discovered he was already dressed in his wine-colored suit, completely absorbed in his phone. "Important meeting at the company today," he muttered without looking up. "Pack meetings too. I'll be back late." I acknowledged with a silent nod. His eyes suddenly darted to me, cold and commanding. "And Bella?" "Yes?" "Don't cause any problems with Lydia. Make her comfortable here." Anger flared inside me, but I suppressed it. "Of course," I replied, my voice tight with restraint. He studied me suspiciously, as if challenging me to defy him, then walked out without another word, leaving me with my frustration and helplessness. Moments later, Lydia sauntered into the kitchen, stretching dramatically. She wore Brad's shirt from the previous night, a deliberate display of their intimacy. Jealousy stabbed through me at this visual confirmation of what I already knew. They shared a bed, something I could only yearn for. She poured herself coffee while I busied myself with kitchen cleanup, attempting to ignore her presence. But Lydia seemed determined to provoke me. "Hope we weren't too noisy last night," she remarked with that cruel smirk I'd grown to detest. "Did you hear us? Sorry if we kept you awake." Heat rushed to my face, but I maintained my composure. Of course I'd heard them, especially her, screaming loud enough to wake the entire neighborhood. "Good morning to you too, Lydia," I responded flatly, keeping my expression neutral. She let out a mocking laugh. "Don't be so uptight, Bella. I'm only trying to have a friendly chat." Lydia slid into Brad's chair at the table, her evaluating gaze traveling across me in a way that made me uncomfortable. 25 years old and still untouched? How do you manage during heat without anyone's touch?" she probed, her voice laced with deliberate provocation. My temper flared, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me upset. "My personal affairs aren't your concern," I replied curtly. Lydia's laughter echoed through the room, clearly delighted by my discomfort. "But they are, darling," she countered. "We're practically family now, wouldn't you agree?" She stood and stepped closer. The scent of Brad's cologne clung to her skin, an intentional reminder of their intimacy. "I have no time for this nonsense," I declared, turning away and walking off. I marched to my bedroom, my pulse racing with suppressed rage and frustration. Flinging open my wardrobe, I yanked out clothes and stuffed them into a suitcase. I deliberately left some items hanging, mentally counting down the days until I could escape this oppressive mansion. After finishing my packing, I picked up my phone and called my lawyer. "When will the divorce papers be ready?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice even. "They'll be finalized within days," the lawyer informed me. "Soon you'll be free, Luna Bella." A knot formed in my throat as I ended the call. Freedom from this nightmare was finally within reach. That afternoon, I entered the kitchen to prepare lunch. While searching through the refrigerator, Lydia sauntered in wearing her characteristic smug expression. The moment Lydia declared her intention to bake for Brad, tension filled the kitchen. "I'm going to bake a chocolate cake for Brad," she announced, reaching for my mixing bowls with unearned familiarity. I eyed her suspiciously, my territory clearly invaded. "You don't need to do that." Lydia's lips curled into that smirk I'd grown to despise. "Oh, I want to. Besides, we're housemates now, we share the kitchen." My jaw tightened as I suppressed the rage building inside me. "Fine, but be careful." She dismissed me with an exaggerated eye roll. "Don't tell me what to do, I can handle it." She couldn't. While I busied myself at the refrigerator, a sharp crackling noise pierced the air. I spun around to witness flames crawling across the counter, black smoke billowing upward. "Lydia, what did you do?" Her face drained of color as she stumbled backward against the kitchen island. I don't know, the oven must have malfunctioned or something. The fire spread with alarming speed, its heat searing against my exposed skin. "We have to put this out." I lunged for the fire extinguisher. "Don't just stand there, help me." Instead of assistance, I got abandonment. Lydia bolted from the kitchen, leaving me alone with the growing inferno. "Lydia, wait!" My desperate call vanished in the roar of flames. With a muttered curse, I focused on the blaze, struggling to aim the extinguisher properly. Smoke assaulted my eyes, drawing involuntary tears. Despite the intensifying heat, I persisted. Then came the pain, sharp and immediate. I screamed, the extinguisher clattering to the floor. Angry blisters erupted across my palms, my skin turning an alarming shade of red. Breathing became impossible as smoke invaded my lungs. The kitchen tilted and swayed before my eyes as consciousness began to slip away. The kitchen door burst open as Brad entered, his brow creased with worry. My eyes met his briefly from where I lay on the floor, but his attention immediately shifted. "Lydia, are you all right?" He called out, rushing past me without a glance. She stood in the doorway, dramatically coughing, her expression theatrical with fear. Brad scooped her into his arms protectively, as if she were precious glass about to shatter. "I was so scared," Lydia whimpered, burying her face against his chest while continuing her performance of distress. I remained on the ground, forgotten. The contrast couldn't have been clearer. His passionate concern for her, his complete indifference to me. Brad carried Lydia away without a backward glance, abandoning me to handle the spreading flames alone. Hot tears streaked my soot-covered face as I dragged myself across the floor. Each breath sent daggers through my lungs, and my exposed skin throbbed with developing blisters. The reality of my situation crystallized with brutal clarity. In this marriage, in this life, I stood completely alone. Bella. My eyelids parted slowly, consciousness returning as I assessed my surroundings. A hospital room, sterile white walls, beeping monitors. My arms and hands pulsated with pain beneath layers of gauze and bandages. The firefighters had arrived just in time. Another minute, and I would have been beyond saving. Turning my head slightly, I glimpsed Brad and Lydia through the doorway into the adjacent room. The pack physician attended to Lydia, fussing over a tiny bandage on her hand, barely a scratch. Brad hovered over her, his eyes burning with concern, his brow furrowed with worry. The naked devotion on his face twisted something deep inside me. Why did Lydia's insignificant injury command such attention while I lay here, skin charred and blistered? I attempted to dismiss the bitter thought, but it clung stubbornly. 2 nurses bustled around my room, their whispers carrying clearly to my ears. Though their conversation gradually registered, they were discussing Brad and Lydia. "Alpha Brad is something else entirely," the first nurse murmured admiringly. "The way his eyes follow Lydia, pure adoration. He treats her like royalty." The second nurse released an envious breath. "If only a man would look at me that way. Poor Luna Bella must realize she'll never capture Alpha Brad's heart like that." Fury rose within me like a tide, but my weakened state rendered me unable to confront them. The nurses prattled on, completely unaware of my seething resentment building with each passing second. "Such a shame, really," commented the first nurse. "But Alpha Brad's choices make sense. Luna Bella just doesn't compliment him. She stands out awkwardly whenever they're together." The second nurse bobbed her head in confirmation. "I used to fantasize about the Alpha when he was still playing the field. I wished he'd select me, even for a Seigel encounter. But since Lydia entered the picture, his eyes haven't wandered once." Revulsion crept through me as I eavesdropped on their conversation. What right did these women have to dissect my marriage and my husband's emotional landscape? And these vicious whispers about my inadequacy with Brad? I deliberately cleared my throat to interrupt their gossip. Both nurses startled, spinning toward me with transparent smiles. Luna Bella, praise the goddess you've regained consciousness, one blurted out. I fixed them with a cold stare, my words cutting. What's the extent of my injuries? The nurse closest to me paused before responding. Recovery might be prolonged, Luna Bella. Your burns are quite extensive. We'll provide medication to accelerate healing. Focus on that instead of useless chatter, I interrupted, my voice glacial. At that moment, I locked eyes with Brad standing in the doorway, Lydia hovering at his side. He approached with her, his face completely devoid of warmth. How are you feeling, Bella? He inquired, his tone mechanical. His emotional detachment stabbed at me, but I maintained my composure. I shot him a frigid look, my response razor-sharp. As you can plainly see, I'm still suffering burns, all because of your mistress. His face contorted into a dark scowl as he glared at me. Don't you think those burns are justified? The fire was your fault, wasn't it? I recoiled from his accusation. That's completely untrue. How can you say that? Brad let out a dismissive laugh. Stop the innocent act, Bella. Lydia explained everything. Your attempt to make dinner ended with the kitchen in flames. You're fortunate she wasn't seriously injured. If she had been, you'd face severe consequences. Fury ignited within me. That's a lie. Lydia caused the fire. Not me. She walked away with barely a scratch while I'm lying here suffering. Lydia's lips formed a practiced pout, her voice honeyed with false concern. I did try to tell you to let me handle the cooking, Bella, but you refused. Now look, the kitchen is destroyed, and I nearly died in that blaze. I stared at her, astounded by her audacity. How dare you twist the truth like this? You started that fire, and now you're covering it up. Enough, Brad shouted, cutting through the tension. Stop trying to shift blame. Your jealousy of Lydia has always been obvious, but you won't escape responsibility. The kitchen repairs and renovation costs will come directly from your account. Disbelief washed over me. You can't possibly mean that. His eyes remained cold, unmoved. It's expensive. Be prepared to pay for your mistake. Without another word, he took Lydia's arm with surprising gentleness and escorted her out, leaving me alone with my humiliation and pain. The nurse's whispers followed Brad and Lydia as they exited my room, their hushed commentary adding salt to my wounds. Alone again, self-pity washed over me like a cold tide. My phone pinged the following day. Lydia had deliberately tagged me in a video. I tapped it, watching my husband and his mistress snuggle together at his mother's birthday celebration in the countryside, an event I hadn't been invited to attend. No surprise there. Brad's mother had always regarded me with thinly veiled contempt, convinced her precious son had married beneath him. A message from Lydia popped up. Missing all the fun, aren't you? Just showing you how we're managing without you. Your mother-in-law adored my gifts. By the way, I told her you said birthday parties were stupid and you had better things to do. She's furious. Oops. Anyway, recover soon or don't. Her words cut deeper than my burns. I wanted to hurl my phone against the wall and erase everything from my mind. Brad remained absent throughout my recovery week. The only updates came from Lydia, who relentlessly paraded her time with my husband before me. Eventually, I blocked her number. Today marked my hospital discharge day and the beginning of my independence. I'd already consulted my lawyer. Divorce papers awaited filing. The suffocating grip of this toxic marriage was finally loosening. I called my lawyer and instructed him to send the divorce documents to the house. Freedom was no longer a distant concept, but an imminent reality. When I instructed him to leave the papers at the mailbox outside after learning no one was home, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Brad would discover them upon returning from his escapade with Lydia, cold legal evidence of my decision. I inhaled deeply, the scent of new possibilities filling my lungs. This chapter was ending, but my story wasn't over. Arriving at what I once called home to gather my possessions, I discovered Brad had changed the locks. Not even a key left behind, his final petty act of control. I simply shrugged. My savings would sustain me. A different city awaited, one without memories of betrayal lining every street. Raising my hand, I hailed a passing cab. As it pulled away, I didn't look back at the house. The freedom washing over me was unfamiliar but welcome, a sensation I hadn't experienced in years. Bella. In the bustling hotel lobby, my eyes darted through the crowd until they found him. Dax, my brother. He approached with that signature smile, eyes crinkling at the edges just as I remembered. Time had changed him. He stood taller now, his dark hair disheveled, jawline roughened with stubble. The simple white t-shirt and jeans couldn't hide the successful businessman he'd become. 5 years had passed since Dax ventured overseas to pursue finance, our communication reduced to occasional calls and messages. Yet despite the physical distance, his emotional support remained constant, always there when I needed guidance. As he drew closer, regret tightened my throat. I'd concealed the truth about my marriage to Brad, not wanting to burden him with my problems while he built his career abroad. Now I wondered if sharing my struggles earlier might have spared me pain. Perhaps he would have recognized the warning signs I'd missed. "Dax," I managed, my voice breaking as I launched myself into his arms. He embraced me fiercely, lifting me off the ground. "Bella, I've missed you so much," he said, voice thick with emotion. Tears flowed freely down my cheeks as I clung to him. The last time we'd been together was my wedding day 5 years ago, a day that now felt like it belonged to another lifetime. When Dax finally set me down, he gently wiped my tears away, but they wouldn't stop. The dam had broken, and all my hidden pain came flooding out. Tears erupted from me in a violent rush, years of suppressed pain breaking through my defenses. Dax guided me across the hotel lobby to a nearby couch, his arms secure around my shoulders as we sat together. "Bella, talk to me," he urged, genuine worry etching his features. "This isn't just about my return, is it? Something's happened." Struggling to regain composure, I failed. The truth spilled out unfiltered. I laid bare Brad's betrayal, his affair, Lydia's presence in our home, the systematic dismantling of my dignity through his actions. Dax's expression transformed with each revelation, concern morphing into barely contained rage. As my confession ended, his fury was palpable, tension radiating from his rigid posture. "How dare he treat you this way?" he snarled, his fist connecting with the wall. "Why didn't you reach out to me sooner?" "I'm sorry," I whispered, shame washing over me. I believed he'd eventually change and actually love me. I stared at my trembling hands. Lydia's arrival just confirmed what I've been denying. Our marriage is beyond repair. Though still seething, Dax inhaled deeply, attempting to center himself. "Tell me where he is. He needs to answer for this." I grabbed his arm instinctively. "You can't confront him, Dax. Remember his position. He's our alpha, the consequences." "Then perhaps it's time I cut ties with this pack," he interrupted, disgust evident in his tone. My stomach dropped at his suggestion. "What? Where would you possibly go?" Dax's shoulders lifted casually. "Not an issue at all. Remember my friend Theo? He runs the Blue Moon Pack now as Alpha. He'd welcome us without hesitation." Hope flickered through me like a sudden flame. Perhaps escape was possible. A clean break, a fresh beginning. Dax rose to his feet, determination etched across his features. "Almost forgot to mention he specifically asked to talk to you about something crucial." My curiosity piqued. "Theo wants to speak with me? What about?" A brief hesitation crossed Dax's face. "Pack matters, apparently. He's calling back shortly. But first things first, you need to finalize your divorce and sever the mate bond with Brad." "Already handled," I replied with rigid composure. Divorce papers were delivered to his residence. The hardness in Dax's expression melted into a proud smile. "That's my sister." Despite the joy of reconnecting with my brother after our years apart, anxiety gnawed at me about my imminent departure. "I'm leaving Florida in 2 days," I announced, breaking the momentary quiet. Dax's relaxed demeanor instantly transformed. "What? Leaving now? We've barely had time together after all this separation." Sadness washed through me as I nodded. "I know, but there's nothing keeping me here anymore. I need a complete restart. My Sydney flight is already booked." Understanding dawned on Dax's face, though disappointment lingered in his gaze. "I understand, but before you go, please talk with Theo. His offer might change your plans entirely." "Fine," I agreed, my interest stirred. "I'll speak with him." Dax retrieved his phone and initiated a video call. Within moments, a face appeared on screen, handsome features framed by striking blue eyes. "Hey, Dax. Been a while," Theo greeted, his voice resonating with a deep timbre. "Hey, Theo. Good seeing you." Dax responded before turning the phone toward me. "Got someone here you've been wanting to meet." Theo's gaze shifted my way, his lips curving into a smile. "Bella, what a pleasant surprise." I returned his smile, feeling somewhat awkward. Same here. It's been ages. Without preamble, Theo addressed me directly. Bella, Dax has kept me updated about you. Unfortunately, we're facing certain issues at the moment. My curiosity piqued. I asked, what sort of issues? Our pack has experienced unexplained attacks recently. I believe you could provide assistance. I let out a disbelieving laugh. Me? How could I possibly help? Theo's expression grew solemn. I need your particular abilities. I'm not some fortune teller, I replied with mild irritation, eyes rolling. Fair enough, Theo conceded with a light chuckle. Whatever abilities you possess as a Moonblood descendant, that's what I need. Interest sparked despite my reluctance. And what do I gain from this? I'm planning to leave my pack and go solo. Theo's smile returned. For starters, my pack can offer protection. Plus, I can provide a marketing position in my company. I understand that's always been your professional aspiration. I couldn't mask my shock. How would he know such a detail about me? Dax interjected with a grin. I told him, sis. I remembered your dream of becoming a marketing specialist. A knot tightened in my throat as I faced Dax. Despite the distance, he'd remained my steadfast ally, noticing things I thought invisible to him. Theo's question cut through my thoughts. What's your decision, Bella? Are you joining us? I inhaled deeply, considering my alternatives. The ticket to Sydney waited, but this offer presented something I couldn't reject. Yes, I replied with resolve. I accept your conditions. They're quite generous. Theo's face brightened with a wide smile. Excellent. We should arrange a proper introduction. When can you arrive in Bermuda? After brief consideration, I answered, I'll cancel my current plans and get there within 2 days. Theo's expression turned solemn as he nodded. I'll arrange transportation for you. Looking forward to our in-person meeting, Bella. As the call disconnected, I turned toward Dax, experiencing an unexpected surge of anticipation about this unexpected turn. What exactly have I committed myself to? I questioned, feeling both nervous and intrigued. Dax flashed a reassuring smile. Don't worry, sis. You can trust Theo. Besides, this change might be exactly what you've been needing. I acknowledged his point, feeling a flicker of optimism. Perhaps this unexpected detour represented my path to a fresh beginning. Perhaps this was precisely the opportunity I needed to reconstruct my life. Brad. Approaching my house, an unexplainable discomfort crawled under my skin. Something wasn't right. Lydia walked next to me, her hand finding its way to my arm when she noticed my jaw tightening. A gesture meant to soothe, yet it did nothing to dispel the growing knot in my stomach. The moment we stepped into the living room, that discomfort transformed into cold shock. Where furniture should have been standing, there was emptiness. Decorations that once adorned the walls, gone. The space felt alien, stripped of its identity. What the hell? The words tumbled from my mouth as my gaze darted around the barren room. Beside me, Lydia's eyes grew wide. Where's everything? Her voice carried genuine bewilderment. I moved through the house in disbelief, discovering more absences with each step. My collection of luxury watches vanished, custom jewelry pieces nowhere to be found. Then my phone pinged. The notification that appeared made my vision blur with rage. Impossible, I snarled, my knuckles turning white around the device. Lydia stepped closer, concern etched across her features. Brad, tell me what's happening. I turned to her, fury radiating from every pore. That conniving witch Bella has donated my belongings to charity, I spat, the words burning my throat. She did what? Lydia's expression mirrored my outrage. Unable to contain the volcanic anger erupting inside me, I grabbed the nearest object, a crystal vase, and hurled it against the wall. The sound of it shattering provided only momentary satisfaction. A chair became my next target, sent flying across the room with a violent kick. Brad, please. Lydia rushed forward, hands outstretched. Stop destroying what's left. I inhaled deeply, trying to regain control. But the rage continued to simmer dangerously beneath my forced composure. The nerve of that woman to execute such a ridiculous move behind my back, I growled, anger still evident in my tone. Lydia exhaled deeply. We'll overcome this, Brad. We'll devise a strategy to handle her. Before she could elaborate further, my phone alerted me with another notification. Glancing at the screen, I found myself utterly shocked. What's wrong? Lydia inquired, concern lacing her voice. Shawarv. I stared in disbelief at what I was seeing. She's drained our joint account completely and moved all funds to her personal account, I declared. That's outrageous, she whispered. I was stunned. Throughout our entire relationship, Bella had never withdrawn a single cent from that account. I had always been the one utilizing those funds. Now she had emptied everything. My emotions were turbulent: fury, astonishment, and a reluctant hint of respect. I had misjudged Bella. Her intelligence exceeded my expectations, but my momentary appreciation quickly dissipated. My mother's instructions resonated in my thoughts. She had already sanctioned my marriage to Lydia, and I'd discovered that maintaining my marriage to Bella wasn't necessary. My only obligation was ensuring she produced an heir to continue the Moon blood lineage. My intention had been to impregnate her before cruelly rejecting her. Now she was disrupting my schemes. I remained seated in my living room, my thoughts consumed by Bella. Our marriage had been nothing but a charade, a meticulously crafted deception I had maintained for years. She had embodied the ideal submissive spouse, never challenging me, always attending to my every desire. She had prepared my meals, pressed my attire, and done everything possible to satisfy me. Even during her forced confinement to domestic life, Bella never voiced dissatisfaction. When I flaunted various women before her eyes, she remained silent, swallowing her pain. But now, unexpectedly, she wore defiance like armor. It infuriated me to my core, and anxiety crept in. Was I losing my grip on her? The timing couldn't be worse with Lydia already positioned as her replacement. What's our next move? Lydia's voice trembled with genuine concern. I instructed her to remain composed, projecting confidence I didn't truly possess. In reality, control was slipping through my fingers like sand. My repeated calls to Bella went unanswered, a jarring change from her previous eagerness to please. Previously, she'd lunge for the phone before it completed a single ring. Now she deliberately kept me waiting. After my 9th attempt, she finally answered, her voice laced with ice. "Why are you interrupting my rest?" she demanded coolly. Her tone stunned me. "What the hell? When has this ever been a problem?" I challenged. She exhaled sharply, irritation evident. "State your purpose, Brad, or I'm hanging up permanently." Her newfound audacity left me momentarily speechless. "Are you actually threatening me?" I managed, barely containing my rage. She fired back instantly. "You'll find out soon enough. It's my phone. I decide how to use it." I commanded her immediate return, demanding her location. She refused flatly, declaring it no longer my concern. I was seething, my rage reaching its peak. "What did you do with the money from our account and the properties you sold?" I demanded. She replied with a tone of indifference. "That just felt like it. Anything else on your mind?" My fury intensified exponentially. "Do you understand what you've done? You've given me every right to formally reject you?" I hissed. The line went quiet momentarily, and I thought I'd finally broken through her defenses. Then her voice cut through the silence, cold and precise. "Is that so? Go ahead, Brad. I couldn't care less." That was the breaking point for me. She wanted to test my limits. I'd show her I wasn't making empty threats. I, Alpha Brad Jadeville of the Shadow Wolves pack, reject you, Bella Hale, as my Luna and mate, and banish you from the Shadow Wolves pack. Another silence followed, and I believed I'd finally established my authority. But then she responded, her tone razor-sharp. "I accept your rejection." I stood there stunned, completely blindsided by her immediate acceptance. It was beyond belief. Moments later, she added, "By the way, there's something waiting for you in your mailbox. You should take a look." Then the call ended. Lydia, who had witnessed the entire conversation, asked with curiosity, "What just happened?" I didn't answer, my thoughts consumed by Bella's betrayal. Instead, I commanded my guards, "Check the mailbox and bring me whatever's there." Within a minute, they returned with a folder. Opening it revealed a shock. Divorce agreement. What the hell? Bella had completely outsmarted me, and I was left utterly clueless about my next move. Bella. Pain tore through me like a dagger to the heart. The rejection from Brad burned deep, severing my connection to both him and the pack. It felt as though a vital piece of myself had been violently extracted. Dax enveloped me in a protective embrace. "It's okay, sis," he murmured close to my ear. "You're free now." I inhaled deeply, struggling to comprehend the sudden turn of events. "There's no going back now," I managed, my voice unsteady. Stepping back, Dax regarded me with unmistakable admiration. "I'm very proud of you, Bella. You're strong and brave." A genuine smile crossed my face, thankfulness washing over me for his presence during this critical moment. Though my parents offered no support, at least I had him. I grabbed my phone and blocked Brad's number with resolute finality. The thought of any future communication with him only promised more heartache and painful memories. "I'm ready to get out of here," I declared, meeting Dax's gaze. He acknowledged with a nod, and together we headed toward the cruise ship. Boarding filled me with unexpected lightness and liberation. This marked the end of my past and the beginning of something new. While waiting for departure, I shut my eyes, drawing in a sharp breath before slowly releasing it. The tang of salt hung in the air as the breeze tousled my hair. My tranquility vanished instantly when I opened my eyes to find Brad marching toward us, fury etched across his features. "What the heck is he doing here?" I asked Dax anxiously, my pulse quickening. "How did he find you?" Dax growled, his eyes narrowing to slits. Brad's guards loomed behind him, their faces blank as stone. He strutted up to us with contempt etched across his features. "Thought you'd just disappear after what you did," he spat, his voice dripping with disdain. I faced him squarely, refusing to cower. "We're finished, Brad." A mocking laugh erupted from his throat. "You don't decide when it's over. I deserve answers." Dax moved protectively beside me, fury blazing in his eyes. "She owes you nothing." Brad's expression darkened dangerously. "And who might you be?" he hissed through clenched teeth. My brother stood firm, unflinching. "Her older brother. Consider yourself lucky your alpha status is the only thing stopping me from rearranging your face for how you've treated my sister." "Ah, Dax." Brad sneered with recognition. "The brother who vanished overseas for years." "I left for my reasons," Dax replied coldly. "My only regret is leaving Bella vulnerable to someone like you." Brad's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Well, I've already cast your sister out. She's a lone wolf now. Watch yourself or you'll join her." Dax met Brad's threat with unexpected laughter. "You think that scares me? Anyone who hurts my sister isn't fit to be my alpha or hers." Rage contorted Brad's features. "You dare challenge me? I rule the Shadow Wolves pack." "Not anymore," Dax declared firmly. "You rejected my sister, and now you'll reject me too." Brad's face contorted with fury. "I, Alpha Brad, reject you, Dax Hale, as a member of the Shadow Wolves pack. You are forbidden from ever setting foot on pack territories again." Pride welled up inside me as I watched Dax. My brother had defended me without hesitation, even challenging our pack's alpha. I turned to Brad, my emotions a turbulent storm. "Satisfied now?" I asked, venom lacing each word. "We're both free of your pack, so you can finally stop hounding us." Brad's cruel laughter cut through the air. "You think survival is possible without me? Follow this ship anywhere and you'll both end up destroyed." "Your ego was always insufferable," I retorted, resisting the urge to strike him. "I couldn't care less about your pack, and especially that prison you called a marriage." He invaded my personal space. "Get on your knees and beg now, and perhaps I'll reconsider taking you back." I deliberately spat on his polished footwear. Swimming with sharks sounds more appealing. Brad's complexion darkened dangerously as he raised his hand toward me. Dax intervened swiftly, shoving him with enough force to send him tumbling into the water below. Fortune favored us, as the ship had already begun its departure, quickly gathering speed. Brad's security detail scrambled to his aid as he surfaced, spluttering with rage. His murderous glare targeted both Dax and me as I offered a small, triumphant wave. "Finally free," I whispered. I glanced at Dax, who studied my face with concern. "Are you okay?" he asked in a gentle tone. "Thank you for standing up for me back there," I murmured against his shirt as I embraced him, grateful for his unwavering support. Dax wrapped his strong arms around me, providing the comfort I desperately needed. "Always," he replied with conviction, his voice steady and reassuring. Just 2 hours before our arrival in Bermuda, my phone buzzed with a notification. A message from an unfamiliar number lit up my screen, but I immediately recognized its source. "Brad." My stomach tightened into knots. The text was brief but audacious. "I'll give you a second chance if you come back." "Bella." I tossed my phone aside with a scoff. "Pathetically needy, aren't you?" I typed back. "I'm completely finished." Brad went silent, but I recognized his stubborn persistence all too well. Upon docking in Bermuda, my phone buzzed again. Brad had sent an invitation featuring himself and Lydia together. A sharp pang hit my chest, but I refused to dwell on it. His message read, "Mom has given her blessing to my union with Lydia. Congratulations to you both." I responded flatly, a perfect match. Looking up from my phone, I spotted Theo, Dax's alpha and closest friend, waiting at the dock. His commanding presence was unmistakable, strikingly attractive, physically imposing, radiating authority. I watched as he embraced Dax like family before turning his attention to me, his gaze locked with mine, sending an unexpected tremor through me. "Bella, good to see you," he greeted, his bass voice resonating. "Welcome to what will be your new home." Entering Theo's mansion left me momentarily speechless. Everything from the soaring ceilings to the polished marble underfoot and elaborate light fixtures spoke of extreme wealth. A staff member guided me to my quarters, an elegantly appointed room with expansive windows overlooking meticulously maintained gardens. The space featured contemporary furnishings, predominantly in lilac hues, coincidentally my favorite color. I wondered briefly if Theo had somehow known this detail about me, then dismissed it as mere chance. After refreshing myself with a shower and changing clothes, I felt reinvigorated and more prepared to face my new circumstances. Just as I settled into an armchair, a gentle knock sounded at my door. "Come in," I called out. The door swung open, and Theo stepped inside. Something about his presence unsettled me, making my throat tighten involuntarily. "Hey, settling in all right?" he inquired, his gaze sweeping across the room. I nodded, feeling self-conscious. "Yes, it's an enormous space, but quite elegant, and I adore the lilac theme. Did you happen to know that's my favorite color?" Theo maintained an impassive expression, though I detected a brief flicker in his eyes. "Pure coincidence," he replied smoothly. "You're not that important." The comment stung slightly, but I managed a forced smile. "Obviously," I responded, attempting to sound casual. Theo awkwardly cleared his throat, his demeanor shifting noticeably. "How does freedom feel?" he questioned, his eyes locked on mine. "Refreshing," I answered, twirling a strand of hair between my fingers. "Though I'm not entirely free yet, considering my ex-husband followed me onto the ship and texted from a new number after I blocked his previous one." Theo's face grew contemplative as he nodded. "Sounds like a desperate husband." "Alpha Brad, correct," I nodded, discomfort rising within me. "That's him. Just curious, what attracted you to him?" Theo asked with penetrating eyes. His question caught me unprepared, and I paused before responding. "I loved him, despite knowing what a jerk he was. The elders arranged our match initially, and I thought he might eventually grow to love me over time." Theo scoffed, his eyes narrowing with disbelief. "That's complete nonsense. Men either love you instantly, or they don't at all. If he didn't love you from the start, nothing would have changed that fact." A wave of defensiveness washed over me, but I couldn't deny the truth in his words. Perhaps I had been deluding myself about Brad all along. "I guess I was quite the fool," I admitted, my voice tinged with regret. Theo's face relaxed, a slight smile forming. "Not completely. You eventually saw the truth, which counts for something." I fell silent, studying his features while wondering about my uncertain future. After a moment, I voiced my concern. "How long will I be staying here?" I asked directly. Theo paused, considering his response carefully. "I can't say for certain. Until we resolve these mysterious attacks, I'm afraid you're stuck here." I acknowledged this with a nod. "And afterward?" My curiosity pushed me to ask. "That's your decision. I'm offering you permanent membership in my pack." Surprise flickered across my face, but Theo continued before I could speak. "If you're helping with something this dangerous, I owe you lasting protection." "I have no intention of returning to Brad's pack," I stated firmly. Warmth spread across Theo's features. "That works out well, then. After this is over, you can pursue your marketing specialist career as you wanted." I responded with a genuine smile. "I would really appreciate that." "Tonight, I'll introduce you and Dax to everyone," Theo said with a nod. "We'll complete the necessary rituals. The pack will welcome you both, I'm sure." "I certainly hope so," I replied. His face grew solemn as he inquired, "Did you block your ex-husband's new number yet?" I offered a slight smile and shook my head. "I'll probably need a new SIM card altogether. He'll find ways to contact me regardless." Theo arched one eyebrow. "What I don't understand is, doesn't he have someone else now?" Dax mentioned some woman. Was it Laura or something? Lydia, I corrected him, irritation flaring at the mention of that woman. And yes, which makes his persistence even more confusing. Men like him can't handle losing control, Theo remarked. Your independence wounded his pride. He expected you to remain submissive forever. I sighed deeply. Living with him was like slowly suffocating. I refused to ever be trapped like that again. Theo's gaze captured mine, his expression softening. You won't be. That's a promise. I returned his smile, genuine appreciation washing over me. There was something about Theo, a compassionate understanding I'd never once felt during my years with Brad. Enough dwelling on unpleasant memories, Theo announced, his tone lightening. Let's head to dinner and celebrate your arrival. As we exited the room together, a fragile sense of possibility bloomed within me. Perhaps this truly was my fresh start. Brad. I stared from the couch as Lydia spun around the room, her wedding dress billowing around her slender frame. Her excited chatter about our upcoming nuptials grated on my nerves, each enthusiastic word feeling like sandpaper against my skin. Something was fundamentally wrong. This woman standing before me, the one I supposedly wanted to spend my life with, now elicited nothing but indifference from me. Our wedding was merely 48 hours away, yet I couldn't summon even a spark of anticipation. Instead, my thoughts constantly drifted to Bella, distant Bella who hadn't bothered responding to my text demanding her return and apology. Her silence was maddening. How could she dismiss me so completely? My anger simmered beneath the surface. My beta had tracked her movements to Bermuda. More troubling was the information that she might be connecting with another alpha there. Theo, a powerful figure who controlled that territory with one of the region's most formidable packs. What business could Theo possibly have with Bella? Had she moved on so quickly? Impossible. Yet doubts plagued me. Perhaps he'd discovered her moon blood lineage and sought her power for himself. The very possibility made my stomach clench with dread. Bella in another alpha's territory, particularly one who could rival me, was an unbearable thought. The scenarios multiplying in my mind were driving me to distraction. As Lydia continued her excited twirling, reality struck me with brutal clarity. This wedding was a profound mistake. Bella's absence gnawed at me relentlessly. The persistent doubt that I was settling for less than I deserved wouldn't leave my mind. Lydia appeared before me, her face radiating enthusiasm. "How do I look?" she questioned, fluttering her eyelashes expectantly. I mumbled an affirmative response without actually examining her appearance. My lack of attention went unnoticed by Lydia. She planted a kiss on my cheek, her voice pitched high with anticipation. "I'm so eager for us to be husband and wife." I manufactured a smile while feeling internally imprisoned. 48 hours. Just 2 more days until Lydia became my wife. Yet the prospect of eternal commitment to her left me feeling asphyxiated. I desperately needed salvation. During our drive home from the bridal shop, my thoughts remained in disarray, constantly circling back to Bella's image. Despite attempts to concentrate on driving and Lydia's enthusiastic wedding chatter, my mind stubbornly returned to Bella. What exactly was occupying her time in Bermuda? The speculation caused a constricting sensation in my chest, combining heartache with territorial feelings. Bella belonged with me, and the concept of her alongside another man was intolerable. I had to locate her, rectify our situation, and reintegrate her into my existence. By our arrival at the residence, my mild headache had escalated into excruciating pain. I craved the specific cinnamon tea that only Bella knew how to prepare perfectly to alleviate my discomfort. Upon entering, I snapped at the first household staff I encountered. "Where's my special tea?" "You know which one." The maid stared at me, fear evident in her eyes. "I apologize, sir. I don't know which tea you're requesting." My patience snapped. "The cinnamon tea, the one Bella always prepared for me, is that so difficult to remember?" She hurried away, returning shortly with a cup of steaming liquid. I snatched it, took one sip, and immediately spat it out. "What garbage is this? It's nothing like Bella's tea. How complicated is it to make a decent cinnamon tea?" Lydia approached, touching my arm gently. "Darling, please relax. I'll prepare it myself." She disappeared into the kitchen, returning moments later with another cup. I tasted it cautiously, wincing at the bitter flavor. This is worse than what the maid brought. How can neither of you manage something so basic? Rage consumed me. I hurled the cup against the wall, ceramic pieces scattering across the floor. Lydia jumped back with a shriek. Brad, what's wrong with you? Why this behavior? I dragged my fingers through my hair, struggling to contain my fury. What's wrong is I can't get a proper cup of tea in my own house, all because Bella isn't here to make it. The statement lingered between us, and I watched hurt flash across Lydia's features. Well, maybe Bella added something special to the tea that we don't know about. It's not my responsibility that your favorite maid isn't here anymore. I felt rage bubbling inside me and urged to verbally attack her for the situation I found myself in. Instead, I pivoted sharply and marched to my bedroom, the door crashing shut behind me with deliberate force. Looking around, I immediately noticed imperfections. The laundry folded incorrectly, the bed sheets an off shade that Bella would never have tolerated. I ripped the linens from the mattress, shouting at the nearest servant to replace them with the exact gray sheets Bella always selected. Stepping onto the balcony, I inhaled the evening breeze, desperately seeking clarity. How had Bella walked away so effortlessly? I'd never recognized my profound dependency on her, how essential she'd become to my existence. Without her, everything deteriorated around me. Nothing felt right absent her particular influence. The morning of my wedding to Lydia arrived, and I stared blankly at my sweeted reflection. The expensive tailoring did nothing to fill the emptiness inside me. I couldn't proceed with this charade. Sorry, Lydia, I murmured quietly. Turning from the mirror, I established mental contact with my beta. Ready our departure. We're heading to Bermuda to retrieve Bella, immediately. I pushed through the thick foliage behind Theo, every nerve in my body tense and vigilant. We were pursuing information about the strange attacks, and I was resolved to assist him in uncovering the truth. Intelligence suggests a rogue witch coven has been active nearby, Theo explained in hushed tones as we navigated the woods. They're likely responsible for what's been happening. I can contribute to the investigation, I responded curtly, surveying our surroundings. Let me attempt to detect any unusual scents. With Theo's approval, I shut my eyes and concentrated on enhancing my olfactory awareness. Moments later, I caught a faint trace, wolf shifter mingled with distinct magical elements. Found something, I announced, eyes snapping open. This way. I guided Theo toward a concealed cavern, and we entered with caution. Magic saturated the atmosphere inside, and I sensed the coven's energy pulsating around us. Examining the cavern, Theo's expression hardened. This clearly indicates rogue coven activity, he stated grimly. There, I pointed to markings carved into the stone surface. Theo studied the symbol, his features darkening further. That's the Slitherbrook Coven's signature, he informed me. They're infamous among rogue witch groups. We need to intervene, I declared firmly. Yes, Theo agreed, meeting my gaze. But we must proceed with caution. Their magical capabilities and techniques remain unknown to us. I'll help you gather intel. Let me access their dreams for information. Take care, Bella. Dream realms can be treacherous. I took a steadying breath and concentrated, extending my dream-walking abilities toward the Coven leader's subconscious. The connection finally established after what seemed like forever. Dark visions flooded my mind, rituals steeped in ancient malevolence, their collective thirst for dominance and retribution palpable in every scene. A prominent image of the full moon appeared, revealing their intention to execute a final strike against Theo precisely when the moon reached its zenith. I withdrew from the dreamscape, fear coursing through my veins. Theo, I discovered something critical, I said gravely. Are you all right? What did you find? They're targeting you specifically during the full moon. He exhaled heavily. We'll prepare accordingly. A preemptive strike will be our best defense. Full moon it is, then. We headed back, our thoughts consumed with tactical preparations. Theo glanced over at me as we walked, his expression softening. Excellent work today, Bella, he remarked warmly. Your courage was quite attractive. My cheeks warmed slightly. Was it now? He confirmed with a nod. Absolutely. I can't believe Brad was foolish enough to let someone like you go. Complete idiot. I laughed dismissively. Good riddance to him. Upon returning to his estate, I made my way to the kitchen. A hot cup of tea seemed perfect to decompress after the day's tense discoveries. As I waited for the water to reach boiling point, I glanced over at Theo, who was perched on the couch with his eyes fixed on me intently. "Tea?" I offered, attempting to maintain a casual tone despite his unwavering stare. "What's it supposed to do?" he questioned, his gaze sweeping over me. "It's a special blend I make. Helps after tough days for relaxation," I explained simply. "Yeah, I'll take some," he replied, dragging out the last word. I laughed quietly while preparing his cup. While chopping ingredients for the tea, the knife slipped and sliced my finger. I let out a sharp cry, clutching my bleeding digit. Theo was beside me in an instant, concern etched across his features, brows drawn together. "Are you hurt?" I nodded through the pain. "Cut myself." Without hesitation, he took my injured finger and, while maintaining eye contact, placed it in his mouth and cleaned the blood away with his tongue. An electric sensation coursed through my entire body at the contact. When he released my finger, I was stunned to see the wound had completely healed. I examined my finger with astonishment and wonder. "True alpha blood contains powerful healing properties in the saliva," he explained, seemingly answering my unspoken question. "It works faster when I'm in wolf form, but for minor cuts, I can stay human." I offered a grateful smile. Studying his face closely, I experienced a sudden, profound recognition. My wolf, silent until this moment, began frantically pacing within me, howling. "Mate!" Confusion and shock overwhelmed me. What? How could this be possible? I'd believed Brad was my destined mate. "Mate?" I whispered, the word barely escaping my lips. Theo locked his gaze with mine, unwavering. His throat worked visibly as he swallowed. "You finally sensed it too? I've always known you were my mate. I just held back telling you because your breakup was still fresh." I gaped at him, stunned. Had the goddess granted me another opportunity at love? After things ended with Brad, I thought my chance at finding true connection was gone. But now, I wasn't certain anymore. Theo's smile reached his eyes, creating fine lines at their corners. "We'll go at your speed. No rush needed." I nodded gratefully. Something about Theo resonated with me on a level no one had before. "Things heated up in there," he remarked with a light laugh. "Want to take a night drive?" The suggestion lifted my spirits. "I'd love that. Night drives have always been my thing." Theo led me to his ash-colored Maserati. The engine's gentle rumble accompanied us as we cruised down empty roads with music playing loud enough to feel it. I found myself laughing, experiencing a rare sense of freedom. Wind tousled my hair while stars dotted the dark canvas above. "How about we head to the beach?" Theo suggested during our drive. "Perfect," I replied eagerly. "I'm all for spontaneous adventures." Soon we arrived at the shoreline, where the rhythmic crashing of waves became our soundtrack. Sitting on the cool sand beneath the star-filled sky, I felt singularly significant in that moment. Curiosity prompted me to ask, "What's your alpha life like? Does it fulfill you?" Theo considered my question briefly. "It does, though I deeply miss my parents." Sensing his underlying grief, I reached over and intertwined my fingers with his larger ones. "What happened to them?" His eyes darkened with memory as he inhaled deeply. "A rival werewolf clan killed them. That loss transformed me into the hard, uncompromising alpha I am today." My heart constricted at his revelation, and I squeezed his hand to offer what comfort I could. "I'm so sorry about your loss, Theo. The pain you endured must have been overwhelming." He offered a sardonic smile. "The pack elders constantly pressure me about selecting a Luna. I dismissed the idea of romance entirely, at least until recently." A warm sensation spread through my chest as I smiled back, happy to have changed your perspective. Theo's gaze locked with mine, his expression softening. "My pack saved me, though. They became the family I needed to continue living." "You never should have faced such tragedy," I said quietly. His fingers brushed against my cheek, the gentleness unexpected. "And you never deserved your hardships either, Bella." His touch sent electricity down my spine. "When did you discover we were mates?" I asked, curiosity burning inside me. Theo's eyes grew distant. "During a business trip to Florida, I attended a pack celebration and saw you there after so many years." The memory of that night crashed into me, Brad standing me up, leaving me humiliated before everyone. The same night I discovered him with Lydia in his car. I trembled at the recollection until Theo's voice pulled me back. "You stood alone when my wolf caught your scent. I recognized our mate bond immediately. But what could I do?" You were married, and I had to leave by morning. You were actually there, I said with a bittersweet smile. Why not introduce yourself? Theo laughed softly. I believed if we were truly meant to find each other, fate would arrange it. And now it seems we have our opportunity. I looked up, my face brightening with a genuine smile. Theo cupped my cheek tenderly, his thumb tracing small circles on my skin as his eyes locked with mine. Just as he moved closer, his mouth nearly touching mine, a harsh growl cut through the stillness, followed by someone shouting my name with unmistakable authority. That voice. Brad? Of course it was him. Dread washed over me as I spotted Brad standing there, territorial rage burning in his eyes. I jumped to my feet immediately, anxiety sending my pulse racing. Brad strode toward me, words cutting like knives. So this is what you've been doing? Sneaking around behind my back? I suspected as much. You have some nerve talking about sneaking around, I fired back, planting my hands firmly on my hips. A serial cheater like you has no right to make accusations. Brad's expression darkened dangerously as he advanced another step. Then explain who this guy is and what you're doing with him. I refused to back down, meeting his gaze with defiance. He means something to me. You're the outsider here. How did you even find me? I'll always track you down, Bella, Brad replied with smug confidence. We belong together. What happened to your wedding? To Lydia? I demanded incredulously. For a split second, Brad looked embarrassed before regaining his composure. I walked out. I realized you're who I need in my life. You abandoned her at the altar? I asked, stunned. Brad nodded, his expression turning pleading. Yes, because I finally understood you're the one for me. Please come back, be my Luna. A harsh laugh escaped me. You've completely lost your mind. Brad's aggressive stance softened into desperation as he reached for my hand, but I yanked it away, fury radiating through me. Theo broke his silence, intervening with swift precision. He ripped Brad's hand away and shoved him backward with a firm push to the chest. Step back, Theo growled, his voice a threatening rumble. She clearly doesn't want your attention. Brad responded with a hollow laugh, though pain flickered in his gaze. The mighty Theo himself. This isn't your business. She's my mate. Mate? Theo's eyebrow arched incredulously. The woman you abandoned and hurt for years? You must be delusional. Brad met Theo's gaze with defiance. I'm not looking for a fight, but I won't walk away. Your reputation doesn't intimidate me. Tension radiated from Theo as his fingers flexed, knuckles cracking ominously. Last warning, Brad. Leave while you still can. Undaunted, Brad attempted to reach for me again, trying to maneuver past Theo's protective stance. Come home, Bella, Brad insisted. You still love me. We can fix our marriage. I haven't even signed the divorce papers. Let me mark you properly, give you my child. Go to hell, I shouted, fury making my voice raw. The words barely left my mouth before Theo's fist connected with Brad's chin in a lightning-fast punch that sent him stumbling backward. Recognizing the situation was escalating dangerously, I grabbed Theo's arm and pulled him away, my heart hammering against my ribs. We need to leave, I urged breathlessly. Now. Bella. The rumble of engines drew my attention as I relaxed in Theo's mansion's living room. Peering through the window, I spotted Brad emerging from his black car, clutching purple lilacs, while his entourage trailed behind with arms full of expensive gifts. My stomach tightened at the sight. Brad's transparent attempt to win me back with lavish presents couldn't mask the desperation written across his face. The wounds from our relationship hadn't healed, and more importantly, my heart was turning toward Theo. Theo's security personnel gave Brad noticeably cold looks as he strode through the entrance with unearned confidence. He made his way directly to where I sat. Bella, my love, Brad announced, thrusting the flowers forward. I've missed you terribly. Letting you go was the worst mistake of my life. I'll do anything to fix what we had. I studied him skeptically. Interesting timing with these gifts, Brad. When we were together, you never bought me anything. I paid for everything myself. You were too busy spending money on your side pieces. Now suddenly you're throwing cash around? His smile faltered momentarily before he composed himself. I was a fool, Bella. I didn't appreciate what I had until it was gone. I've changed, and I want to prove it to you. Save it, I said firmly. I've moved forward with my life. What I have with Theo is real. He invaded my personal space, eyes narrowing as he stepped closer. You can't mean that, Bella. You're just wounded and need time to recover. I'll wait for you. Do anything to bring back your smile. Frustration welled inside me. Brad, I'm serious. We're done. Please go. Still, he persisted. I've ended things with Lydia for you. I see now she was manipulating me. Everything's clear to me now. We could recapture what we once had. I rolled my eyes, completely exasperated. Wasn't Lydia supposedly the love of your life? Not anymore, my love. I'm free from her influence. I understand now that you're what I need. Theo strode into the room at that moment, anger flashing in his eyes. What business do you have here, Brad? Brad smiled, completely unintimidated. I came for Bella, obviously. Release my woman, and I'll leave your pathetic property. Theo's glare intensified as he closed the distance between them. You clearly don't understand what private property means, Brad. You're trespassing, and I'm telling you to leave. Brad sneered defiantly, but Theo's guards advanced, their expressions delivering a clear warning. I'm not leaving without Bella, Brad declared, his voice growing louder. Theo's face hardened with rage. I hate repeating myself, Brad, but I'll say it one final time. Leave. Now, or I swear by the goddess, I'll tear you apart. I stood up, positioning myself beside Theo. You should go, Brad. Get it through your thick head that I want absolutely nothing to do with you. Brad's face contorted with fury, his complexion darkening to a deep crimson. You'll live to regret this decision, Bella. Choosing him will be your biggest mistake, he spat out venomously. He pivoted sharply and marched out of the mansion, his entourage trailing behind like obedient shadows. As the heavy door slammed shut, I exhaled deeply, feeling tension drain from my shoulders. Theo turned toward me, concern etched across his features, eyes scanning my face. Are you all right, Bella? Yes, I'm okay. Thank you for defending me back there. A warm smile spread across Theo's face, creating small creases at the edges of his eyes. Always, Bella. You belong with me now, and I'll protect you at all costs. Later, I was focused on securing my shoelaces, my mind drifting through turbulent thoughts when Theo entered the room quietly. Everything okay? He inquired, his tone gentle with worry. I glanced up, manufacturing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Yes, I'm fine. Theo's penetrating gaze assessed me, but he respected my space. Instead, he announced, I'm upgrading our security protocols. Brad and his pack won't get near us again. I nodded appreciatively. Thanks, Theo. I apologize. I should have provided better protection. With a weary sigh, I dismissed his self-blame. Don't fault yourself. Brad's return meant inevitable trouble. If he could locate me from Florida, finding your mansion wasn't much of a challenge. Theo's face grew serious as he considered my words. Valid point. We'll need heightened vigilance moving forward. After a moment's reflection, he continued, It's time to formally reintroduce you to my pack. We need to establish your position as my mate unequivocally. My heart skipped nervously as I agreed. Though I'd been connected to the pack previously, circumstances had dramatically changed. I stood as Theo's mate, fully aware that acceptance wouldn't come easily from everyone in the pack. Still, I faced this challenge head-on. The training grounds fell silent as we entered, all eyes turning toward us. Theo's voice rang clear as he presented me as his mate and future Luna. Reactions varied across the gathering. Surprise flickered across some faces while genuine warmth shone from others. Pack members studied me, with expressions ranging from innocent curiosity to undisguised hostility. I noticed familiar female faces in the crowd, their eyes narrowed with unmistakable jealousy. These women had harbored hopes for Theo's attention for years, and now I represented the death of those dreams. Theo's hand found my shoulder, his touch conveying strength. Don't worry, Bella. You're my mate, and they'll come to accept you, he assured, sensing my internal struggle. I inhaled deeply, straightening my spine. This wasn't about mere acceptance. I needed to demonstrate my value to this pack. During training, I pushed myself beyond expectations, displaying capabilities that caught many off guard. I watched realization dawn in their expressions as they reassessed me, seeing beyond their initial assumptions. As we concluded, Theo's eyes held unmistakable pride. You did great, Bella. I'm proud of you, he stated simply, his approval warming me from within. A small smile formed on my lips as satisfaction settled over me. The journey ahead remained long, but I'd taken my first meaningful step. Whispers followed our departure from the training grounds, some impressed, others still doubtful. I'd made progress today, but the real work of earning my place as Luna had only just begun. I honed my skills on the pack grounds, each movement calculated and sharp. Hours of practice had drained my energy, but quitting wasn't an option. During a brief rest, I caught fragments of conversation about me from nearby pack members. "She's proving herself," one remarked. "Might be valuable to the pack after all." "I heard she's assisting Alpha Theo with those strange attacks. Got some unique abilities," another added. "Perhaps we misjudged her," a third whispered. "She's more than just a human." Their words sparked pride within me, though I remained grounded. I still needed to earn my place. Theo appeared suddenly, his expression playful. "Perhaps we sold train together. I have techniques to share." I cocked an eyebrow but agreed with a simple, "Fine." He demonstrated advanced combat maneuvers, teaching me to leverage my quickness and reflexes against stronger opponents. We sparred intensely for hours, our movements becoming a dance of attack and defense. At one point, Theo pinned me down, our bodies pressed together as I struggled to catch my breath, heart hammering in my chest. Just as I began feeling confident in my progress, Ava, one of the dominant females in the pack, interrupted our session. "Alpha," she addressed Theo, her tone venomous. "I believe Bella and I should fight. I want to evaluate her abilities myself." Theo stepped in front of me, his stance protective and unyielding. "I don't believe that's required, Ava." I rose to my feet, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "No, I'll fight her. My training has prepared me for this moment." Theo's gaze met mine, concern evident in his eyes before he reluctantly agreed. "All right, the challenge is set for tomorrow." Excited murmurs rippled through the gathered pack members. Ava's lips curled into a cruel smile, her eyes glittering with hostility. What grudge did she harbor against me? "This will be entertaining," she taunted. I returned her smile with equal intensity, refusing to show intimidation. Challenge accepted, I thought silently. Later, as I prepared my gear for the training grounds, Dax entered my room wearing a broad grin. "Look at my sister, all mature now," he teased. "Please," I laughed, rolling my eyes. "I'm 28, hardly a child. Doesn't matter if you're 42, you'll always be my baby sister," Dax countered. I chuckled, then grew serious. "Are you truly okay with Theo and me together?" Dax's expression sobered before he nodded decisively. "Yes, Theo's my best friend and normally off limits, but I won't stand between what the moon goddess has clearly ordained." He exhaled deeply, his expression softening. "For weeks, I've noticed that light in your eyes, the one that disappeared when you were with Brad. It's back now, and Theo's the reason why." He smiled, a glimmer of humor lighting his expression. "I've spotted Theo countless times, and it's undeniable how he transforms whenever you're near. He's supposedly this tough, intimidating alpha with an iron exterior, but I witness the way his gaze follows you. Mate or not, I recognize when my best friend has fallen hard." Tears welled in my eyes as I approached Dax and embraced him firmly. "Then I have your approval, correct?" Dax's arms constricted around me. "Absolutely, little sis." I stepped back, gazing up at him with a smile. "I'm relieved because I'm developing serious feelings for Theo, something I thought impossible after being devoted to Brad for so long." Dax's face took on a grave look before softening. The heart always makes space for someone worthier. That afternoon, I stepped onto the pack's training grounds, anxiety drumming through my chest. Theo observed intently, his attention fixed on me throughout. As I approached him, he bent down and murmured, "You've got this, Bella. I believe in you." His words ignited my determination, and I smiled, feeling strength surge through me. "Thank you." Ava stood waiting, my challenger, her eyes blazing with malice. Pack members formed a circle around us, faces eager with anticipation. When the fight commenced, Ava lunged with a growl, claws slashing toward me. I evaded with precision, my movements calculated as I deflected her attacks. Yet Ava proved formidable, landing several powerful strikes that sent me sprawling onto the ground. I clenched my jaw, refusing surrender. I surged to my feet, maintaining unwavering eye contact with Ava. Our battle raged fiercely. Each strike met with equal force, neither of us yielding ground in this crucial confrontation. Then something fundamental shifted within me. Memories of Brad's abuse flooded back. Every cruel word, every moment he'd demolished my self-worth. Those painful recollections transformed into pure combat energy. I directed this raw emotional power into each precise movement. My attacks became calculated and lethal, claws slicing through the air with newfound determination. Ava retreated, visible shock registering across her features as she recognized the change in me. With a final devastating strike, I sent her tumbling to the ground, defeated. The pack exploded into thunderous celebration, their howls and cheers reverberating through the clearing. Standing victorious, my breathing heavy from exertion, I watched as Theo rushed toward me. He lifted me off my feet in a joyous embrace, twirling me around while I laughed, overwhelmed by triumph. When he set me down, the pack's unified chant began, "Champion! Champion!" Pride swelled in my chest as I smiled broadly. I had succeeded. I had earned my place. Meeting Theo's gaze across the clearing, I recognized the undeniable truth. I had found my perfect match, my true champion. Bella, the full moon cast an eerie luminescence across the landscape. I positioned myself beside Theo and his pack, vigilantly surveying the perimeter for any indication of the Slitherbrook Coven's presence. This confrontation was anticipated. We stood prepared. For months, Alara, the merciless and ambitious Coven leader, had plotted to usurp Theo's authority. When the Coven materialized from the darkness, their eyes linting with hostile purpose, we immediately countered. I channeled my powers, commanding the elements to bolster our defense. Gusts roared, ground trembled, and flames erupted as we engaged the enemy. Theo displayed remarkable combat prowess, systematically defeating multiple adversaries. I battled at his side, our actions perfectly coordinated. Together, we formed an unstoppable force against the Coven's assault. Alara proved unexpectedly formidable, presenting a genuine challenge even for someone of Theo's caliber. Their confrontation was intense, marked by blinding speed and tactical precision. I observed with admiration as Theo ultimately subdued Alara, his superior might overwhelming her resistance. Yet in victory I noticed his arm was injured, his breathing labored from exertion. "The wound will heal quickly," he assured me, his gaze meeting mine. Despite his reassurance, concern gripped me. Pain visibly contorted his features, indicating his need for recovery. Several pack members sustained injuries, and Theo declared his intention to ensure they received medical attention. "You should return home and recuperate," he suggested, his expression conveying genuine concern. Dax, who had fought alongside us throughout the battle, concurred. "I'll escort my sister home," he stated, offering Theo a comradely shoulder pat. "Watch yourself, bro." Theo nodded, his gaze locked with mine. Likewise. Walking home with Dax, relief washed over me that the battle had ended, though concern for Theo's injury lingered in my thoughts. As we approached our house, Brad stood waiting, his stare fixed on me with uncomfortable persistence. Dax scowled at the sight. "Your ex really doesn't understand boundaries, does he?" I rubbed my temples, frustration building. "I'm completely fed up." Brad attempted a sympathetic expression, but I wasn't fooled. "Not looking for trouble," he claimed. "Just want to talk." After a moment's consideration, I agreed. "Fine, this is your absolute last chance. After this conversation, you disappear permanently." "Understood?" Brad agreed reluctantly, claiming unfairness but accepting my terms. I turned to my brother, who watched us suspiciously. "Dax, I'm fine. I'll catch up soon." Dax hesitated before nodding. "You sure about taying with him?" I confirmed, though Dax remained doubtful. He shot Brad a warning glare before departing. Standing in the deserted street, Brad searched my face. "Is there truly no chance for us?" he asked quietly. I exhaled heavily. "How many times must I repeat myself? Theo is my mate now, Brad. You should concentrate on Lydia. Is that really so difficult?" While we continued talking, Brad appeared ready to drop to his knees in desperation. Suddenly, a car came speeding toward us from nowhere, tires screeching against the pavement. Brad sprang into action, thrusting me aside and using his body as a shield. Terror gripped me as I watched the scene unfold, paralyzed by shock. The vehicle slammed into Brad with a sickening impact, hurling him brutally to the ground. I let out a piercing scream as the car vanished into the distance, leaving Brad sprawled and severely wounded. I darted to his side, my pulse hammering with dread. He was slipping into unconsciousness, his legs grotesquely broken and seeping blood. Trembling uncontrollably, I felt horror wash over me as his blood soaked through my clothing. I cradled him, pleading desperately. "Brad, stay with me. I swear I'll get you medical help." He attempted to respond, but his words came out feeble. I shouted frantically for assistance, praying someone would hear. Fortunately, Theo's security personnel arrived promptly, and with their assistance, we transported Brad to the medical facility. I maintained a vigil beside his bed, consumed by remorse that he had taken the hit meant for me. The physician arrived later, just as Brad regained awareness. "What's my condition?" Brad inquired weakly. The doctor offered a reassuring expression. "You may experience temporary paralysis, but recovery is certain. The collision was severe, but with sufficient rest, you'll recover your mobility soon." After the doctor's departure, I faced Brad with conflicted emotions. That was reckless, stepping in front of that car. Brad's lips curved into a smile, his gaze locked on me. I wouldn't hesitate to do it again. I exhaled deeply, guilt weighing on me. "I appreciate you saving my life." He clutched my hand, his eyes revealing raw emotion. Before I blacked out, I caught the license plate of the vehicle that struck me. Brad whispered, hoarsely. It was Lydia's car. "She's clearly still harboring resentment." I scoffed, unsurprised by this revelation. It was exactly the kind of vengeful act someone like her would commit. "That's Lydia for you." Rising to my feet, I felt I'd fulfilled my obligation. Brad would recover, and that was what mattered. "I need to leave now," I said with a faint smile. Despite Brad's pleas for me to stay overnight, I firmly declined. My partner is waiting for me at home. Exiting the hospital, I couldn't shake the feeling of sympathy for him. Yes, Brad had put himself in harm's way to protect me, but that didn't change our situation. His unhinged girlfriend had caused this mess in the first place. Arriving home, I found Theo by the window, drink in hand. He briefly glanced my way before returning his attention to his glass. "You've been absent for quite some time," he remarked, jealousy evident in his voice. "Dax mentioned you were at the hospital with your former boyfriend." Finding his jealousy amusing, I fought back a smile. I needed to ensure he was conscious and recovering. He did save me from being hit, after all. Theo's gaze locked with mine, his jealousy as palpable as a scent in the air. "Is that so? Perhaps you should have stayed longer to care for him." I approached Theo and settled onto his lap. When I wrapped my arms around him, surprise registered on his face. "That wasn't an option," I stated, looking up at him with a smile. "I made it clear to Brad that I have a partner waiting for me at home." Impulsively, I leaned forward and pressed my lips against his. Bella entered the conference room, enveloped in a wave of congratulations from colleagues. They praised her achievement as the top marketing specialist at Theo's company. She felt overwhelmed with joy, still processing how Theo had transformed her professional aspirations into reality. The celebration continued until Theo himself walked in, his expression revealing nothing of what was to come. Without warning, he lowered himself to one knee, extracting a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. The room erupted in excited whispers as Bella stood frozen, staring at the dazzling diamond ring now presented before her. "Bella," Theo said, his voice steady yet tender, "from the moment I met you, I knew that you were special. Will you be my wife, my Luna?" Tears welled in Bella's eyes, emotion constricting her throat. "Yes, yes, 1,000,000 times yes," she managed, her voice breaking as Theo slipped the ring onto her trembling finger. Applause and cheers filled the room. Theo embraced her, lifting her off the ground in his enthusiasm. The perfect moment was shattered when Brad appeared at the doorway, clutching flowers, his expression a study in devastation as he absorbed the scene. "You really said yes to him?" Brad asked, barely masking his anguish. Bella exhaled heavily, frustration evident in her gesture as she pinched the bridge of her nose. "Yes, Brad. I'm sorry. You need to understand that I'm never coming back to you. You need to move on and be with someone who really loves you." Brad's countenance crumpled briefly before he regained his composure. He tossed the bouquet into the nearest waste bin with deliberate casualness. "I'll forward my wedding presents," he announced flatly before exiting the room. As his footsteps faded, an abrupt wave of nausea overwhelmed me. I bolted toward the bathroom, with Theo right behind me. "Bella, what's wrong?" Theo examined me anxiously, concern etched across his features. I shook my head uncertainly, feeling disoriented. Something's off. I've been feeling strange for days. Then realization struck me like lightning. I inhaled sharply, my eyes expanding in sudden comprehension. Theo's expression transformed instantly to one of hopeful excitement. "What is it, Bella?" Though I couldn't articulate it, Theo seemed to intuitively understand. His face brightened with a knowing smile. Later that day, I sat gripping a pregnancy test, my pulse hammering with nervous anticipation. The positive result appeared, leaving me momentarily stunned. I emerged from the bathroom, unable to suppress my smile. Theo and Dax stood waiting, their faces taut with expectation. "So?" Dax prompted eagerly. I felt warmth spread through me as I announced, "I'm pregnant." Theo and Dax erupted in jubilant celebration, exchanging enthusiastic high fives and congratulations. Theo rushed to embrace me, planting a tender kiss on my forehead. "My Luna is giving me an heir," he declared, his voice vibrating with unbridled happiness. I smiled and glanced meaningfully at Dax. "Looks like you're about to experience unclehood." Dax's grin spread wide across his face. "Can't wait for that." 4 years later, I lounged on our living room sofa, observing Nick, now 4 years old, as he displayed his little biceps and proclaimed, "Mommy, see! Strong like Daddy!" I laughed softly and tousled his dark hair, my chest swelling with maternal pride. Nick was developing into a robust, handsome alpha who clearly took after Theo. Even at this young age, he exhibited unmistakable qualities of leadership, sharp intellect coupled with remarkable courage. Nick's admiration for his father showed in every little action, from his attempts at mimicking Theo's deep roar to his determined efforts to lift items clearly too heavy for his small frame. After the wreckage that was my marriage to Brad, I had resigned myself to solitude. Then Theo appeared, transforming my world completely with his unwavering love. Now we shared not only our hearts but also a wonderful son. Our family was growing again, a second child on the way. Nick couldn't contain his excitement about his impending role as an older sibling. For months he'd been specifically requesting a sister, and I'd finally delivered the news that his wish was becoming reality. "Mommy, when will my sister get here?" Nick questioned, his wide eyes filled with innocent wonder. "I need to teach her everything and keep her safe," he announced proudly, his little chest puffed forward with importance. I chuckled, gesturing toward my belly. "She'll be here before you know it, Nick. We still have some waiting to do, but not too long now." At that moment, Theo entered, his face brightened with a broad grin. He grabbed Nick, hoisting him effortlessly onto his shoulder as they engaged in their usual playful roughhousing, both laughing unreservedly. Brad had disappeared from my life after our divorce proceedings concluded, and truthfully, I felt nothing about his absence. My days were too full with the joy Theo and our child brought me. This unexpected happiness had become my reality. The very happiness I'd once believed was beyond my reach.